Hi, welcome to Portage County Matters. I'm Patty Dreier, Portage County Executive. Great to have you with us here today. My guest today is Volker Gaul. He's the campus dean from Mid-State Technical College right here in Stevens Point. We're going to talk all about what's going on at the Technical College and what folks can look forward to in our near future, as we've got a new semester that we'll be inviting people to enroll in coming up soon. But before I get to that, I wanted to mention just one particular story. I want to invite everybody who's listening to the show on the radio or on the television or on YouTube to join Mayor Mike Wiese and myself and our families in supporting the Normandy Veterans Project that we have launched in our community on Veterans Day, November 11th this year, and it'll go through Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th this year, at the Community Foundation of Central Wisconsin. We're raising money for the Normandy Veterans Project, which will help us restore a 12th century church in Aingoville-aux-Plaines, France, Normandy, France, near Utah Beach. It's about an hour from Utah Beach, and it had a great role to play in D-Day. And the medics, parachutists and medics, Kenneth Moore and Robert Wright, who had been dropped into that zone on D-Day 1944, June 6th, was created an amazing story of heroism, of courage, and of people who were trying to create a more peaceful result out of what was the chaos of war in those days. So anyway, we invite you to learn more about the story of Aingoville-aux-Plaines and these two medics by checking out the City Times spread at on the November 11th issue, or the Portage County Gazette had the full story as well on November 11th's publication. If you'd like more information about the project, you're very welcome to give my office a call at 715-346-1997, and we'll be happy to sit down with you, share some photos, and where this project came from, as I try to work across the ocean, I guess, to link the mayor of Aingoville-aux-Plaines, a village of about 40 people, with our mayor here, Mike Wiese, with the city of Stevens Point, and be able to help a very small village maintain the monuments that help us all remember the story of what happened on D-Day there, just an hour from the D-Day beaches. So thank you for that few moments in honor of our veterans across the land. And I'd now like to welcome my guest, Volker Gaul, who's also a veteran.
I am, thank you.
And thank you, who is our campus dean with Mid-State Technical College right here in Stevens Point. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
I think it's a couple of years now since I've met you and you've stepped into your role.
Pretty close, yep.
Yeah, so tell us maybe, before we even start to talk about the technical college itself, tell us a little bit about you and what brought you here, and then we'll go ahead and transition to Mid-State.
Well, as you said, I've been the campus dean for coming on 2 years. In March, it'll be 2 years. So I'm starting to get comfortable in the role a little bit. It was quite a challenge to step into the shoes of Steve Smith, my predecessor. I give him a lot of credit for getting our new campus up and running. But he gave me some training, and since then I've had a lot of help from all our community members and people like you who have helped me adapt to the role and make it my own, and so I've appreciated that. Before I became campus dean, I was an instructor at Mid-State for 23 years. So I taught IT, software development, and done all of this on the Stevens Point campus. So I visit the Wisconsin Rapids campus, but that's not home for me. It's here in Stevens Point. Before I came to the Stevens Point area in 1992, I was in the Air Force. So I spent 4 years, the last 4 years at the University of Michigan in the ROTC program, 4 years at Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska, and 4 years at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio.
Wow.
Grew up in Michigan, went to Michigan Tech, got my degree there with the help of an Air Force ROTC scholarship, and long roads to get here.
Oh, well, we're glad that you are here.
Now this is home. 25 years is a long time, but it's been a great 25 years.
Yeah, wonderful to have you.
Thank you.
Really wonderful. I have to say that I'm really grateful for the way that our community reaches across various organizations. our education system, with our business systems, with our government systems, as it was yesterday at the Portage County Business
Right.
Council Board meeting, where we were all there.
Yes, it was a full house yesterday, too.
It really was. We were learning about more of what's happening at Midstate as well as at UW-Stevens Point and in our school districts locally. And so anyway, it just feels like a big family. And I'm not just saying that to say something trite here.
I agree. It really helps to be able to have those connections and to have meetings like the Portage County Business Council sets up to make the connections, and then when you need somebody to be on a show like this, or when I need somebody to help out with an event at Midstate, I have people I can call. I have resources that I can use, and that really makes the job a lot easier, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So are you still teaching in your campus dean role then?
No, as I put it, I've been clean now for about a year. When I first started as a campus dean, it was in March, and I was in the middle of a semester. So I finished out that semester, and I was teaching full-time and doing campus dean kind of in between. I didn't have too many morning classes, so I was able to do both for a little while. And then in the summer, I was supposed to be campus dean full-time. Teaching was supposed to be done, but we had an instructor who had to back out of a commitment, and so I ended up teaching at night after doing campus dean stuff all day. And then the same thing happened in the fall. And so my first year as campus dean, I did some teaching. It was dual roles, and it was pretty hectic. It's nice to have one job and be able to focus on it.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful.
But I do miss the teaching, and a lot of my students from 2 years ago are finishing up their degrees right now, so that's kind of rewarding to see, but wish I had a little larger role, but now I have a different role, and that's fine too.
And I'm sure they get to interact with you quite a bit along the way.
Oh, they know where I
anyway.
sit. Yep, they come
Yes.
find me.
Excellent. All right, so let's transition and talk about the organization itself, Midstate Technical College, and what's going on as far as where we are in a time frame in an academic year. Let's start with that, because we're going to look ahead to getting folks interested in enrolling going forward, and we'll find out more about what the trends are here as well. You had really great fact sheets that I was studying before the show.
Good. As you said, we're in the middle of a semester right now. Like most colleges, we start, actually we start a little early. We start in mid-August and then go through just before Christmas this semester. So we're a little past the midpoint of the semester. Students are doing well. But particularly in student services, we're focusing on the next semester already. We're making sure that our current students are all enrolled. They have the opportunity to enroll first. If you're a current student, you get first pick of classes, and they did that back in October. And so we've got most of them enrolled for the upcoming semester, and now we're focusing on bringing in new students. One of the things that a lot of students don't recognize, or potential students don't recognize, is that it's possible to start your education in the spring. You don't have to wait until next August and come in with a freshman class, so to speak. We don't classify our students as freshmen and sophomores, but you don't have to wait. So if you're interested in starting your career, there's still plenty of opportunity, but now's the time to get started, because our spring semester starts January 16th. There's a couple of things we need to do before that rolls around to get you enrolled in classes, and time's getting tight and holidays are going to start getting in the way. We want to make sure we get that taken care of. But we can enroll students all the way through even January 15th. Gets to be a bit of a rush for the students. It's not a nice, comfortable start, but if that's when it fits into your schedule, we can accommodate you and get you going right away.
I have to say, as I sit here, coming from the university, before I came to work for county government, I didn't know that you could just absolutely start anywhere. I had never known that before.
Actually, we've changed in the last, I'd say, 5 years to include late start classes, as we call them. So students who maybe their kids aren't quite in elementary school or high school yet, and they can't start school right away in August. We do have some classes that start either a month after the beginning of the semester. I think we also have some that start 2 months after the beginning of the semester. So really, you can start at all kinds of times. You can start in August, September, maybe even October, January, February, March, and then there's a summer semester as well that starts in June. So there's all kinds of times to start. No need to necessarily wait until we roll around to next fall.
So let's talk about what we're starting on, or what I'm starting with as a student. So degree programs, how it preps me, and the relationships between these programs and the work world, or a 4-year institution, if I wanted to go get a bachelor's degree. Talk about the array of options I've got if I'm interested.
So many options. We call them career pathways that students can take. Many of our programs have what we call embedded certificates, where you can earn a credential that maybe takes you 6 weeks. And you'll have a credential that you can then, a certificate of type, take to an employer and say, I've been trained in this and I'm ready to go to work. Once you then have that job, or maybe after you finish your certificate and want to continue your education, you can work toward a 1-year diploma. And then from the 1-year diploma, you can work into a 2-year associate degree. So we stack these credentials. And so everything that you do in the certificate part of the program counts toward your associate's degree. Everything you do in the diploma part of your program counts. And then we have articulation agreements with many of the 4-year local colleges to allow you to continue on to your bachelor's degree. Most of our students, when they get their associate's degrees, are in pretty high demand. And so there's jobs waiting for them out there, especially right now. And they'll go out and get their job, and hopefully the employers will support them into continuing their education. In today's world, technology is moving so fast, everything is moving so fast, really, you can't stop teaching yourself what's new. It's going to be an ongoing, we call it lifelong learning. It's an ongoing process. Mid-State's got classes all along the way up to your bachelor's degree, and then the 4-year colleges take over. But we have a number of students that come back, because particularly my IT students from 15 years ago, what they were learning 15 years ago still applies today, but there's so many new things that they could learn, like programming for mobile devices, like a cell phone. That's a new course that didn't exist 15 years ago, or even 10 years ago for that matter. And now those courses exist. So a number of those students come back and they take a night class and simply take that one class to enhance their skill set. So education in this high-tech world is just an ongoing process. You either teach yourself or you get us to use our resources to help you update your skills.
Certainly every day when I'm out there in the work world, I know that the lifelong learning aspect is really where it's at. You have to keep on striving to build your own knowledge base and skills. Talk about the certificate programs. Which kinds of certificates could I get if I
don't know too many of them. There's a couple. The first one that I can think of is our nursing certificate, or nursing assistant certificate. That I believe is, I'm not going to try to guess,
Sure.
About 6 weeks, maybe a little bit longer course, and then you do some clinical work, and then you have that certificate. In IT, we have a Microsoft Administrator's certificate that you can start with, and that might get you a job as a network administrator someplace, and then you can come back and start working toward your networking degree.
Excellent. Okay, so
it's a couple of examples, but there are others as well.
So who are the students at Mid-State these days?
It changes a little bit, but it's been pretty consistent since I started. Most of our students, a number of our students, I think the information sheet said 41% are fresh out of high school. And that's great. We're glad to have those people there, those young, enthusiastic students ready to go. But then we also have students anywhere, my notes say the age range is anything from 16 to 80 plus. That's the range that I taught when I was an instructor. I had 16-year-olds in my programming class, and I also had an 80-year-old in my Microsoft, or 80, I think she was 82, 82-year-old in my Microsoft Office class, and she wanted to learn about this newfangled email stuff at the time, and so she could stay in touch with her grandkids. So it's everybody. A lot of students, average age is 28, but I've had every one of my classes honestly had 18-year-olds all the way up to 50-year-olds, very common to have them all in one class, and it really creates a nice dynamic because you get different kinds of personalities, different kinds of work experience. They can share those with each other, and it works very, very well.
I'm looking at your fact sheet here, Volker. It says that 41% of program students are age 25 plus.
25 plus, okay, so that was the number I had in my head. But I think the number for high school students is very similar.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Not
honestly.
Uncommon for our students to be 25, to start when they're 25 plus years old. For many students, that's when their next phase of life is starting. Maybe they're having children, getting married, ready for that next step, and we're ready and waiting for them.
Well, and I think that's such a cool statistic because it shows that there's a majority of people who are they're just not coming out of high school here to go into the program, but they're really picking it up as they determine directions or want to define directions in their own lives.
Many people change directions in life, and in our area there's been a lot of mill closings, and Midstate was there to support the people who were displaced by those mill closings and ready to go to train them into new areas. Many of them actually went into IT. I had a number of students in my classes that were millwrights before, and now they're or on the paper machines, and now they're out working in IT fields.
Fascinating, isn't it? Now, when I used to, in my history, I used to be assistant to Dan Trainer at UW-Stevens Point College of Natural Resources, and I used to advise prospective students and parents who are considering UW-Stevens Point and the natural resource programs. What a great honor that was, and especially learning from one of our greats, Dan Trainer. One of the things that was a statistic then, and that was the 1980s, so 87 would have been that year, was that students had changed, it was pretty typical average for students to change their majors on campus at least 3 times. Okay, so 3 times. So it's really not a lot different. Right? We're still finding our way. When it comes to education, you open the door, you decide, oh wow, this might really trigger that next exciting opportunity for me, or nope, it's not hitting the spot. I'm going to go in this a different direction instead.
It still happens, especially while you're in college, 4-year colleges, but even at the technical colleges, that you come in thinking this is what I want to do, and then find out that it's not a very good fit for you. It still happens, but because of the rising costs of education, both the 4-year systems and the technical college systems are doing what we can up front now to try to help students sort out their career choices, because every year you spend in college is another, say, $10,000 in debt, depending on where you go to school. Those kinds of students are not the ones that it's not the kind of service we want to provide to our students anymore.
Do you have like an assessment, an online assessment, or some other career assessment?
I'll put a plug in for our website, MSTC.edu. It's got all kinds of resources out there, including a career planner that you can go through, and it will walk you through and ask you what your interests are and what you do, and do you like working inside or outside with people, by yourself. Sort through those and start recommending careers to you that you can start with. Our inbound process, our application process, all includes career services to take a look at really what do you want to do. For many students, it's I want to come in and I want to make a living wage, or I want to make a really good wage, I want to make good money. But if you don't enjoy your job, the money isn't going to last very long, because you've got to find a career field that you like, that pays well, and there are many of them out there, and we just got to point you in the right directions.
So I'm looking at your fact sheet again. It says that 69% attend part-time and 31% attend full-time, and that 4 out of 10 of your Midstate students work full-time. So for anybody that's out there listening to this Portage County Matters show with Volker Gaul, the campus dean from Midstate Technical College, this is a great opportunity for you to consider seeing yourself as a future student at Midstate if you're not already.
Absolutely. There's all kinds of opportunities. As you said, a lot of our students are part-time, and if there's something that's changed, I think, in the last 5 years, is that we're seeing more and more part-time students. When we look at our enrollment numbers, we see the number of students increasing slightly, but the number of credits that are being taken per student being reduced. And I attribute that to all kinds of things. Number one, the economy right now is good, so many of these people are working full time. And if you have a child at home, then it gets kind of tough to take 10 credits, 12 credits, so they go part-time. The other side of it is a lot of students are concerned again about that debt. And so they're trying to work their way through college today and save money or make money and pay for their tuition or their school costs out of pocket, instead of borrowing lots of money to get their education. The risk there, however, that we've discovered just recently is that the longer it takes you to get that degree, the more likely some barrier is going to jump up. That maybe a new child is born in the family, and now all of a sudden can't afford to go to school anymore. So we're trying to get students to recognize the value of committing to their education, number one, and taking as many credits as they can, realistically, but trying to get that degree finished as quickly
Get
as
it under
possible.
their belts so they have their next earning power as well.
Right, and that's
Sooner.
the other thing to recognize is that if you are still in school and you don't have that full-time job that you're shooting for, every year that you spend in school, you're not making 50, 60, maybe even $70,000, and that's another loss. So the sooner you can get done, the better. It's a juggling match for many, or juggling act for many kids and students, pardon me, kids, 28's the average, they're not kids. For students to juggle that and find the right balance between education and their work and family lives.
All right, so you've got an integrated enrollment model.
Right.
I would like you to help us understand what that is all about.
Our integrated enrollment model is a new model that we created starting about this time last year to streamline our enrollment process. There were a lot of bumps and hurdles that people had to go through to get into Mid-State Technical College, to get ready, to sign up for classes, and then ultimately to attend classes. And we wanted to streamline that process from the day that you express interest in Mid-State to the day you register for classes and even beyond that. And so we created this new model. And now students have the opportunity to get registered into classes with only, we call it a one-stop shop, one stop to campus. Our applications are all online, so go to MSTC.edu, and there's a big button that says apply to a program. You fill out an online application. There is a $30 fee, though often that fee is waived for extenuating circumstances or special events. I got to put the plug in. Early January, we're going to have a destination registration just before the semester starts. The students can come in on that one day, and we'll waive the fee, and we'll do everything and get them registered and ready for class the next week. So look for that on our website.
Wonderful.
But the $30 fee gets waived. Once we get your application, we give it a quick once over, and more likely than not, you'll get an email within the next day and a formal letter within a week saying, congratulations, welcome to the Mid-State family.
Excellent.
And thereafter, so now you're part of the family, so now we want to make sure that we get you ready to be successful in our classes. The first step after that is to attend what we call a STAR session. A STAR session stands for Strive to Achieve Results. Again, we're trying to get students ready to go. That STAR session is one stop. You come in, we give you a 45-minute presentation on how to use the Mid-State network systems. We have email, we've got Blackboard that manages all of our classes, we've got a database that manages student records, and how do you access all those? We give them their first look of that. They see it again later. And then if need be, we'll give them an AccuPlacer. AccuPlacer is an assessment that determines your math skill at this point, your reading ability, your sentence skills at this ability, at this time in your educational career, and we use that to make sure we place you in the right classes. Makes no sense to put somebody in an advanced math class or even a beginning math class if they're not ready. We want to make sure they're successful. If students have taken the ACT in high school, and many of them nowadays do, that AccuPlacer isn't necessary. We'll use their ACT scores to place them as well. Once the AccuPlacer is done, you immediately meet with a counselor. They make sure your career choice is appropriate. They take a look at your placement scores to make sure you're in the right, to help you pick the right classes. They do some counseling on how many classes, like we just talked about. What's your family life, what's your out of school life look like right now with jobs, family commitments, those kinds of things. And then from that point, they'll pick the classes for you. We'll run through a special program we have called College Scheduler that lays out every possible combination of the classes that you've picked and works them around your work schedule and everything else, so it's pretty slick. Student picks the courses, the schedule that they want, and they're in. And we register them, and then we start taking care of them from there to make sure they're ready for that first day of classes.
Well, talk about nurturing someone through the process, mentoring them, helping them. I couldn't imagine something more complete than that.
It's complete, but it's also very simple. And our old one was very complicated, and financial aid is also in that picture. I didn't mention that. And we do have a very competent, strong financial aid team that helps students make sure their financial aid's ready when the semester starts. And that's one of the advantages of registering for classes early, is if that financial aid is already there and waiting for you, then you can have a good handle on how much additional, if necessary, is going to be needed to get you through school. And for students who are getting ready to graduate from high school, now's about the time to start thinking about next fall. Again, financial aid, you can apply now. They've changed the financial aid rules. so that you can apply earlier and have that financial aid award package in hand before you even start registering for classes. Kind of like getting a loan for a house before you go out and even start shopping for a house.
So you've mentioned the website, MSTC.edu, and the phone number for Midstate that you would like us to use if we would.
If you were to call, the one I have in my head, there's an abbreviated 800 number, but if you're local, 715-422-35, or 5300, so 5300. We'll get you into our main phone lines and we'll take care of you from there and make sure we connect you with the right people.
Who are your faculty?
Who are our faculty? What I don't know if it's unique, but what's really special about our faculty is that they all have real world experience. Our hiring process requires that any faculty member that we bring in has at least 4,000 hours, that's 2 years at least, of real world experience in the area that they're going to teach. So in my case, I had 12 years of Air Force programming experience, and so I was supposedly, I hope so, well qualified to teach the classes, and it's the same for all of our instructors. Our accounting instructors have accounting experience, our nursing instructors have nursing experience, so they know what it's like out in the, quote, real world, past education. They can also help students. They're part of our counseling system, plan ahead for what their careers might look like. Is Skyward the right place for you, or maybe it's Berkshire Hathaway or AIG, who knows? But they can provide some of that insight. They also help with resume building and interviewing skills so that the students are ready for those when they come up.
So what's the difference that it makes for you right now being downtown in Stevens Point? Have you noticed something different in the new facility now as far as who's there, how the facility is used? What does it mean to programming?
It has meant a lot, I think, to programming because our retention numbers are better. We're retaining students. In the older building, we took good care of it. We had some newer wings, but it still felt like a repurposed building to us. And students weren't necessarily proud to take their parents or their friends to their college in our old building on Michigan Avenue. Now, with our new facility, it feels like a college. We have lots of families being given tours by their students, and it's very great to have students positive about where they're going to school. So that's been a real benefit for us, and it keeps students enrolled in the program. Being downtown makes us a little more visible. We're right off of Highway 66, and so people drive by, they know we're there. We have a digital billboard that's always displaying messages to get ideas into people's heads about coming to join us and improving their education. I think it's being very effective. And we're also part of that downtown community. Tomorrow's the parade, and though Midstate will be part of the parade, and I think we feel more a part of Stevens Point in the community than we did in our previous building.
And I would say, you know, I believe that there's just a little bit more than a minute or so left in the show, Volker. As we look at our future and our relationship with businesses here, I mean, for any business owners out there, any organizations that are looking for certain kinds of workers, what would you say to them as a nutshell of a message that you would like to?
We're here to support you. I mean, what our mission, the technical college system mission, is to develop programs that the local community needs. We are developing programs that Stevens Point, Plover, Wisconsin Rapids, Marshfield needs. Wausau's got its own technical college that focuses on what's needed up there. And so if employers have needs, I wish they would contact us. I hope they contact us and let us know what those needs are, because we do want to make sure that our programs match their needs and they can use that same 422-5300 number to start that conversation.
Great. Thank you so much for this wonderful
pleasure.
show, Volker. It's a pleasure to work with you.
Thanks for asking us.
Thanks for joining us on Portage County Matters.